Hey, my friend. Welcome back to Keeping It Real with Sidereal. This is our weekly Sidereal Astrology forecast for the week of October 21st through the 27th. I've got all the details about what's going on in our sky this week in Sidereal Astrology. Now that we are in Libra season for that nice balance and harmony, we kick off this week in a lot of intense air energy, which we'll hear about in just a bit. So grab your drink, grab whatever it is that you're drinking today, grab your notebook, and let's dive in. As a reminder, if you want to see the visuals, the charts, then make sure that you are on the YouTube channel, Keeping It Real with Sidereal. If you are on the podcast, maybe you just want to hear the information. Maybe you just want to take me on your walk while you're doing dishes, while you're working, or on the drive to pick up the kiddos from school. Then make sure to head on over to the Cosmic Mystic podcast. All those links will be down below depending on where you're at here, my friend. I'm going to share my screen here so that we can dive in to our chart for this week. And as always, we kick off this week with our State of the Union. We did have our full moon last week, and so now we are diving in to releasing control. And we'll talk more about that when we talk about our moon this week. But let's dive into the State of the Union. Our sun right here is in Libra. We've also got Mercury in Libra. Those were traveling really closely for a while. They are now fully separated, with Mercury being over here at 17 degrees Libra. Let's go ahead and go around this way. We've got Venus over here in Scorpio at 10 degrees. She moved into Scorpio just a bit ago. We've got Pluto out of retrograde in Capricorn. So it is in that movement. We talked about that last week, that forward movement. We've got Saturn over here still in retrograde in Aquarius. We've got Neptune and the North Node and Chiron all over here retrograde in Pisces. We've got Uranus in Taurus retrograde, Jupiter right here conjunct our moon as we kick off this week. Jupiter is in Taurus and the moon begins in Gemini. And then we've got Mars over here at 0 degrees Cancer. Mars has just moved into Cancer. And so stay tuned because towards the end of this video, we're going to talk about Mars in Cancer, what that means, because it really isn't at its best here in Cancer. All right, so let's kick off with, we talked about some of these last week, but this one right here is going to continue into this week, and that is the Pluto and square, the Pluto Sun square. And so we saw that come in on the 16th, and we'll see this all the way through the 27th, through the end of our week. So remember, this was bringing in more energy, more strength, that motivation to work hard. We also saw the potential of ego conflicts or power struggles, or maybe even some self-esteem issues. And I did recommend to eliminate those bad habits. This is the transit to do just that. Let's go ahead and dive in, though, to our moon, because as I said, we are kicking off this week with a lot of air energy, and especially right here with this moon being in Jupiter, probably have a really good opportunity here to get some really good insights. So the moon being in an air element and our sun being in an air element in Libra, we've got lots of mental activity, lots of mind work, lots of ideas. This is a really good time for brainstorming, for researching, for bringing, like gathering information. It's also really good for communicating because we're talking about that moon in Gemini. So, we talk about the moon as our emotions, right? And it's that emotional energy, that emotional drive. And so right here with Gemini, we might want to communicate some more, especially as it relates to our emotions, okay? So we might be feeling some of that coming in here right off the top of this week. And the moon will be moving through Gemini through Tuesday and just a little early in the morning on Wednesday. So we'll see this all the way till early morning Wednesday. So I'm going to recommend, especially those of you that are running your own business, this is a really good time to pull out those study materials, to do some research, to do some brainstorming, and just allow those ideas to come through. Now, I do want to state here, before we go any further, is that a lot of the times people will, like other coaches and healers who I tend to work a lot with, will tell me, hey, Danie, like I can't come up with any ideas. I'm feeling stuck or maybe like stagnant in some way. What I have found, that especially with myself, is that if the ideas aren't flowing through, there's something blocking. And a lot of the times it's just, I just don't have the capacity or the space for those ideas to come through. And so this is one of the reasons why I use somatic breath work to clear out, right? To clear my energy, to release anything that I have picked up, whether it's in my auric field, my energy field, or just in my thoughts and ideas that are sticking around with me, so that I can release it through the somatic breath work, so that I can actually like have some space for the ideas to come through. So if you're feeling stagnant or stuck, or like, I don't have any good ideas, right? Then allow some space, or create some space. And we do that every single Monday, just FYI, every single Monday here on the channel with Magic Monday Live. And I do also have a 22-day somatic breathwork challenge that has 22 different 22-minute, it's 22 days of 22-minute somatic breathwork sessions, all for $22. You like those 222s, don't you? So you can also get access to that. It's on a private podcast, and they just get delivered to you every single day. Okay. Let me get back to this and sharing my screen. I just feel like it's so important sometimes when I say certain things that it's like, let me tell you a little bit deeper on that. So Wednesday through Friday, so let me go ahead and advance our screen here. Wednesday through Friday, we'll see our moon move into, like you'll see here, right at 27 degrees in Gemini at 8 a.m. If I move this forward a few hours, you'll see that it'll shift out of Gemini. And right here by 2 p.m., it's going to shift into, it's actually a little bit earlier, but 2 p.m., it'll shift out of that Gemini energy and into Cancer. So Cancer is a water sign. So we've got our consciousness in that mental energy, and now we have our emotional energy in the water element. And Cancer is all about support and nurturing. I would say this is a really great time for self-care. All of our water moons are a great time to pause and to like do some nice self-care. And again, self-care could mean a number of things depending on your moon sign, and what that might be for you might be different. It can also be a really good time to work on emotional content and even healing, especially with women or female relationships, because we're in that very nurturing, loving, supportive energy of Cancer. It's a really great time to not only take care of self, take care of others, but also work on those relationships. And then on Saturday, we're going to see the moon move out of Cancer, and we'll move into Libra. So we will, Leo. So we will have our sun in Libra and our moon in Leo. So Leo is a fire sign. It's the fire element, and it is much more action oriented, which is why I always say, take care of yourself in the water moon so that you have that energy to really use that fire element when we kick off with Leo. And so Leo is, for me, I find it to be that leading energy, that creative energy, that fun, playfulness. It's also a really visible time, or there's a lot of visibility that we tend to see, like wanting to stand out, wanting to be seen, wanting to be heard, and also working with inner child. So this Saturday and Sunday, see what your inner child wants to do. Take them out on a play date and let them lead with that playfulness and that creativity. Maybe there's a creative project. Maybe you just want to go swing on the swings. Maybe you just want to go get an ice cream or a hot chocolate with lots of whipped cream. Yes, please, and thank you. All right, moving into our more personal planets, which we're talking about Mercury, Mars, and Venus. So let's see where Mercury is. We said earlier, excuse me, Mercury was moving out, or Mercury had moved out away from the conjunction with the sun, and it is right here at 18 degrees in Libra. So there is a couple of transits that I want to talk about with Mercury here. And the first one is this Mercury trine Saturn. So again, Mercury, the communication, the thinking, the processing of information, Saturn being that really serious, concentrated, goal-oriented, grounded energy. And so there's a really good vibe of getting things done, having like a serious frame of mind, like really good concentration, really good attention to detail, really looking at more practical, more permanent ideas. This tends to be more of like a really grounded, focused, like get to work and get things done. And so we saw this come in on the 18th, so on Friday of last week, and it's going to move through this week all the way through Friday this week, I believe. Yes, the 25th. So we have this full week here where you might have already started to feel it. I know I felt it. Over the weekend, I did my best to take off on Saturday, but I could feel that pull of like, oh, I need to get things done, or I want to get things done and get ready for the week ahead. And then the second one I want to look at comes at the very end of our week here on Sunday. And so we're going to really see this energy kick in for next week. But I wanted to give you the heads up because it is Mercury opposite Uranus. So Uranus is always that exciting energy. It wants to freshen things up. It wants to make things more exciting and, different. And so this is going to speed up the pace a little bit, even though it is in retrograde and even though it is in Taurus, it is going to speed up the energy just a bit, and especially our thoughts. Because we're dealing with Mercury here, it's going to speed up our thoughts and just like kind of like our daily pace. And so there could be some tension here, some scatteredness, some nervous anxiety maybe that comes in, or even some energy of distraction. And so we won't have that, energy of Saturn anymore here, right? So it might even feel a little bit more chaotic. Like you feel really focused, and then all of a sudden you're like, I can't seem to focus for anything. So this would not be the best time to make plans. Not the best for business deals or negotiating things, because it takes a lot of patience and self-discipline. It's not the ideal time for like really going over contracts and really looking at the fine details. It's like Uranus does not care about the details. It does not care. Just tell me the gist, and I'll kind of go through it. This is more of like freeing yourself from responsibility, freeing like the shackles, right? That and the thoughts and beliefs that we have. It's like really opening yourself up, being around people who are different or who think differently than you, and like engaging in this conversation, debates even, less serious topics. This is all fun and easygoing energy. Let's see. I would also say double check those travel arrangements. I am traveling this week, so it's like that's in my head. Like double check the flight time. Make sure that you're getting those notifications. Make sure you're thinking ahead about your where you might be staying, the cars, all the things. Definitely something to look out for, as well as just maybe some unexpected delays or unexpectedness where things aren't quite working, especially as it relates to electronics. So triple, double, quadruple, check those things. I would say this is a really good time though to occupy the mind, because the mind is going to be a little bit racing just a bit. So anything that you can do where it's going to really push it to use that energy would be really, really good. So any type of puzzles or games, like my favorite thing is like Sudoku. I love to play Sudoku. So, things where you're really using your mind. All right, let's talk about Mars, because we've got a couple of things happening with Mars. First off, I want to go back to the beginning of this week here. And Mars has this opposition to Pluto. So we talked about these other guys here last week, but I want to talk about this opposition to Pluto because it kicked in over the weekend. And so Mars and Pluto, it's a little bit more of an intense energy. And Mars, remember, Mars is our drive, it's our motivation, it's that energy, right? It's that will. And Pluto is that transformative, powerful energy. So there's some intense power struggles, even conflicts that could come up here with Mars. Even, wanting to assert control or dominate others is pretty big here. Fears, insecurities may come to light. More ruthless behavior can definitely come in here. Really being more assertive is probably something that we might feel. Now, I will say this, because Mars did move into Cancer and our Sun is in Libra, we might not see this as much. We actually probably will see more of this really balance of that assertiveness along with the cooperation energy. There still is the tendency to encounter resistance, though, to encounter a little bit of intensity more so than we would here. And I would say more on an emotional front, because when Mars is in Cancer, first off, it's in what's called its fall in Cancer. It's not at it's a little bit more challenging for Mars, because if you think about it, Mars is the energy of the warrior. It's the one that's wanting to go out there and lead the way and battle and fight. And Cancer is the one at home, nurturing, supporting, loving the people. Very different energies here. So there's an increase in our emotional sensitivity, which can lead to moodiness, definitely passive aggressiveness, or as my love used to tell me all the time, that I was a Coke bottle, because I would hold everything in and I would explode, right? That's definitely Mars in Cancer. It's like it's being more passive aggressive. It's not really confronting things, because Cancer kind of beats around the bush. It doesn't like to hit things head on. It rather walk around things, right? And just kind of like not really wanting to hit things, or as my love likes to say, put shit on the table to deal with. It doesn't really like to do that. But Mars here is wanting to drive that. Mars is wanting to let's just have this out. Let's just do this. And so I would say energy is fluctuating quite a bit. Motivation fluctuating quite a bit. So you might feel really high and really ready to go, or really low and not wanting to do anything. Remember, this energy in particular, I'm going to tell you now, is going to be here for a bit, because Mars generally goes about 6 to 8 weeks in a sign. It just depends, but it's usually somewhere in that realm. Well, what's going to happen this year in particular is when we get to December, it's actually going to go retrograde in Cancer. And so we'll see our period here of it moving into Cancer, and then it being retrograde in Cancer, and then it moving forward after the retrograde period. And so we will kick off this year in Cancer, which will be moving forward, but it will still be in this energy of Cancer. So I want to tell you that now, because as we approach these later months of the year, there's a tendency And especially since we're in an election year, my friend, there's a lot of emotion. There's a lot of high emotion. And so we might see some of this coming through in different ways over the next few months and into the new year for sure. So I'm going to remind you to take care of yourself first and foremost. My friend, I am wanting you to be at your best, to have the awareness, right? This is why I created the Sacred CEO framework. It's what I use to help myself find peace in the chaos and to really strive to be the best version of myself, no matter what is happening in the outside world. All right, the last thing I want to talk about here is Venus. So let's come on over to Venus. And we're going to look at this Venus and Saturn that comes to play right here on the 23rd. So Venus rules over our money, it rules over our relationships, beauty. And so when we have the energy here with Venus, this can bring, because it's Saturn. I talked about Saturn earlier. I often call Saturn Daddy Saturn, right? Kind of comes in, is that really responsible, kind of laying down the law, making sure we're on track type energy. And so with Venus, it's kind of bringing that attention there. So it's like, where are you with your finances? Are you set for your goals for the end of the year, right? Especially this time right here. Your relationships. Has there been some struggles in the relationship where we're needing to get things back on track, right? There could be some stress that we see in our relationships. You know, money is always, right? It's said to be like one of the number one stressors in relationships. And so there might be some tension that has been maybe simmering. And then we think about that Mars and Cancer energy, and it's like, right? Those things are rising to the top. There could be there could be some drama here, right? A little bit of a drama, or we're definitely wanting to make sure that we're not wasting our time, we're not wasting our resources, our money, right, on things, and whether that is in relationships or whether that is in the things that we're buying. This is interesting because this happens right here just for about this last week of October. And it's interesting to me because we kind of like have this season that tends to happen right as we start to enter November, and even a little bit before, but especially right as we hit November, and it's like the shopping season, right? And so where Venus and Saturn is like, let's get things in order. Let's get a budget together. Like if you're planning on, buying gifts, or, traveling, spending time with family. It's like, let's get some things in order. Let's get a budget. Let's get a plan together on what we're going to do. And so you might find yourself starting to think of those things as we move through this next week. Oh, I just realized I wasn't sharing my screen. I went to stop my share and I wasn't sharing. That is correct, my friends. I do not edit these videos. They are one take, one shot. So here we go. All right, this wraps up our Sidereal Astrology forecast for the week of October 21st through the 27th. As I have mentioned before, we've got lots of things to support you as a healer, as a coach, as a conscious leader. I have the Sacred CEO framework. I'm actually going to be launching our new membership coming up in the next couple of weeks. So stay tuned for more on that, but we will be following. I already have everything. It's so interesting. As I was working through this in the past 6 months, really revamping what my next offering, what my next program, and the best way that I can support healers, coaches, and conscious leaders, the Sacred CEO framework started to come out. And it's something that I have been doing for years. It's what I do personally in my own life, in my own business. And it's finally like all the pieces are all there, and I'm just kind of putting them all together. So there's a really beautiful framework for you. So more coming on that. So stay tuned for that. We've got tons of events coming up the next couple of weeks with our Sacred CEO Circle, our New Moon Sacred Circle. I'm also doing a special ancestral, healing the ancestral lineage, a somatic breathwork experience on the 30th. I mean, there's tons of things coming up. I always have things on the horizon. So make sure that you are following here on the channel and the podcast, and you can find all the links to everything down below. The best place to go is thepeaceteacher.com. You can go to thepeaceteacher.com/events, and you can find all the events are coming up. If you're looking for some more one-on-one support or readings, you can also go to thepeaceteacher.com and find all of that information there. All right, my friend, this is it for this week's Sidereal Astrology Forecast. Have a great week, and I'll see you next time. And remember to find peace in the chaos. Bye.